Hey guys, big up yourself, big up yourself. It's my 1 year anniversary on This Girl Vents. Woo woo. I hope you're all happy for me. Guys, we have so much to talk about and I'm just so excited. But before all of that, let me just make a quick introduction. If you haven't heard who I am yet, which means you need to be hearing of me. I'm Constance Stanleys, and obviously you are on This Girl Vents on PRZ FM 109.2. So just before we get into the main meat of this whole topic, I'm just going to say to you, feel free to shoot your questions and requests at me on thisgirlvents@przfm.com. So that's thisgirlvents@przfm.com. Excuse me, guys. So guys, honestly, I'm feeling some type of way. It's my 1 year anniversary. Oh my god. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to do. It's my 1 year anniversary, guys. I don't even know how to even put this out there, but we're just gonna start with something particular, which is gonna be retrospect. But then I decided to put a little spin on it and call it retrospect and the F word. So the F word isn't, the bad word. The F word is another bad word called fear. So the reason why I wanted to talk about that and kind of link it to retrospect is basically because 1 year ago, man, I was in a completely different state of mind. And I'll tell you why. No, I wouldn't say I was in a completely different state of mind. I was in a place where I really just wanted to get the ball rolling in terms of doing things that were more, would you say, out of my league? Or maybe it was in my league, but I was always afraid to kind of own it, basically. So the reason why I want to discuss that is because looking back, I feel like being on radio, I'll just start with that, has been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. It's one of the biggest steps I've ever taken. Number one, just because I'm just really not that kind of person. I really just don't like talking about myself kind of thing like that. I mean, I'll talk about anything else and keep rambling, but not really about myself, So just looking back, I wanted to discuss a few things. And before we get into fear, or should we start with fear? What do you guys think? Should we talk about fear? Yeah, let's talk about fear, man. Let's talk about this F word. Okay, so this is how I feel when it comes to fear, right? I always do this thing where when I feel like something scares me, if I feel like the only reason why I don't want to do something is because I'm afraid to do it, I do it. That's my take on life. That's my take on everything. So I'll tell you how I got to that point. I don't even know how I got to that point. Maybe it was just some type of evolution thing going on in my brain or whatever. But I remember when I'd started This Girl Vent, it was kind of like a platform for me to reach out to people and just to tell people that it is okay to speak your mind in a respectful manner, of course, in a way that would kind of tell your story, but as well as just open the door for other people to be able to tell their story, which has been basically my entire calling in life, basically just to use yourself to reach other people so that other people can use themselves to reach other people, right? Beautiful cycle. So fear, where did fear come in? I remember when I started with This Girl Vents, it was a blog online, and I was extremely scared. I was nervous, I was petrified, I felt sick. I didn't want to put the blog live because I wasn't too sure. And I remember there was this point where it was if you want to I thought it was like a preview, so you get to see what your site would look like if you were to put it on live, but not necessarily put it on live for real. So I clicked on it and it put my site on live. It wasn't even a preview or anything like that. So at that very moment, I was put on live, and then I basically just had to brace up to it. And it's just been an experience throughout, and it's just kind of opened a few doors for me. Not just even few doors in the sense of like opportunities with other people, but it's opened doors for me mentally, it's opened doors for me psychologically, emotionally. It's allowed me to confront a lot of issues that I would never, ever do. And I think it's actually allowed me to be more courageous with the book I'm writing. So all these kind of things just kind of wrapped up to be something good, I guess. So when we talk about fear, I feel like fear is something that is so deadly. I feel like it affects every single part of you. It affects, and it doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you as well. Like when you're scared to do something and you hold back from doing it, not only are you shortchanging yourself, but you're shortchanging someone else's opportunity to see you do that so that they can do something else. So I just feel like fear is such a dangerous thing. It's such a dangerous game. But yeah, so before I ramble off into fear, the F word, FEAR, I wanted to look back on the year. So we've talked about so many different things. We've talked about relationships. We've had people on the show. Shout outs to CK, Inspire, to Kimberly Thompson. We've had so many different voices on the show, whether they were here physically or whether they were online and making notes or just saying things that were actually very important. They've all been quite instrumental to the growth of the radio show and for me as well personally. So like I said, we talked about relationships, we talked about so many different things. We talked about God, we talked about religion, for example, or faith, which is how I see it. So I just feel like in that 1 year there's so many things, and I've only got 3 words to kind of wrap them up into. So the 3 words are perhaps, possibility, and opportunity. So when my online blog was on years back, I did have this blog and I did speak about those 3 words, and it kind of crept up on me again, because it is something I do try to live by. Perhaps, possibility, and opportunity. Obviously I'm a poet, so you'll hear that there's so many P's inside there because obviously alliteration matters. So perhaps is basically what I was talking about. It's just that thing of like knowing that whatever it is that you're doing, it could reach out to someone. There is that perhaps, like there's always someone out there waiting for your greatness. I don't even know how many times I have to say this because it is such a big deal to me for people to shine their light. It's such a big deal to me for people to really know like who they are and how to maneuver that or how to work it, so that they can not only better their lives but to better the lives of people around them, people in their family, friends, community, and hopefully the nation at large and internationally as well, which is the dream. So perhaps, man, you know, I feel like when you open yourself up to the unknown, there is that perhaps of you can grow and you can actually develop yourself immensely. And I feel like that is something that is so important to every single human being. I feel like, and that's not something that's just key to particular ages. So you don't have to be young, or it doesn't only apply to middle-aged people. It doesn't only apply to young adults. It doesn't only apply to teenagers. It applies to everyone. So the scope is pretty wide, is basically what I'm trying to say. And sometimes we are scared of the unknown. If not sometimes, maybe all the time. I feel like when we don't really have the information of something or the complete information of something, we go in very tentatively. We're quite scared and quite timid, and it's natural because I do it all the time. I'll use myself as an example. No matter how many times I sing in front of my church, every single time I sing in front of my church, I'm always always sickeningly nervous. Not because I don't even know what it is anymore. Maybe that's just me. Maybe Constance is just weird, you know. But the fear of the unknown is something that kind of hinders us, because we don't know what the future holds or whatever. We tend to kind of shortchange ourselves. We lock ourselves away from doing that particular thing that could actually benefit us or others in the long run. So the perhaps is a very, very key point. I feel like always have perhaps in your mind and just think like, okay, perhaps this could work out, perhaps it couldn't, but what could I learn? Perhaps I could grasp this amount of information from that, or perhaps I could do this, or perhaps I could do that. And I think that's such a key word to have in your mind at all times. The second word is possibility. And the reason why I wanted to talk about possibility and perhaps are pretty much, they're all around the same kind of thing anyways, in the sense that they all lead to the same point I'm trying to make. But you know, like in this life, there's literally nothing that is certain anymore. In fact, you know what, I'm not even too sure if there has ever been a solidified notion that change will never occur. And I feel like that's something that we should always be aware of, the fact that change happens all the time. And because change happens all the time, it basically tells me that the possibilities are endless. You know that advert where they're always shouting, the possibilities are endless, possibilities are endless. It's the truth. It really is the truth. I feel like because the world isn't static, because there's always motion, there's always movement, it's basically just telling to me, and hopefully to you, that there are so many possibilities that are waiting or available for you to basically try. You know, there are things that we're scared to do because we don't think they are possible when they actually are. And again, that's one of the things that fear does. Fear will tell you that, nah, that's not possible. And by the way, just to cut into that, fear has its own, fear comes in so many different voices. Like sometimes fear comes in the voice of your parents. Fear comes in a voice of your friends. Fear comes in a voice of media. Fear comes in the voice of your pastor. Okay? Fear comes in the voice of your siblings, and a lot of the time fear comes in your own voice. And the reason why it sounds like it's your own voice is just because it's just you or your mind reiterating what everybody else has said to you. For example, I don't know how to ride a bicycle. Confession time. Okay, so I don't know how to ride a bicycle, and there's always just that. I remember I think I was saying to my mom at some point, like, you know, if I knew how to ride a bike, I'd be riding to work. And she was like, you know, riding to work, and then all these people, they're just being run over on the street. She was basically like scared. It was worried that as much as she was trying to protect me, her protection was actually coming from a place of fear. And a lot of the times when we look into fear, as much as it may seem plausible, it's not the be all and end all of how you are supposed to manage your life. Therefore, I'll use the bike riding as an example. Me riding a bike is not an automatic way to me losing my life on the road or something. You could be walking, you could be a pedestrian, you could be driving, you could be riding a motorcycle, in a lorry, you know, you could be anywhere, and all these like drastic things or fatal things could happen. God forbid that they do anyways. So it doesn't necessarily have to happen in a bicycle. What I'm trying to say is, because I've definitely digressed, is that is that life happens to everyone. So your fears are kind of invalid, is just what I'm trying to say. Your fears don't really make a lot of sense in the face of possibility. I will always say, just go for it. I believe in taking risks. I always, even in my CV, I say it. I love taking risks. But then I write on the side, I make or I take worthy risks. I literally write that because I do. I calculate things before I get into them. But when I see that I am over calculating it to the point where there's no more room for me to actually do that thing anymore, I stop. And I make sure that I'm always checking myself just to make sure that it's not fear that's making me pull away from something. And I'm not saying that, for example, I'm not saying do the craziest things like, oh, I'm scared to jump into fire or a naked flame. That's not the kind of scenario I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that you know you want. So, for example, you want to be a speaker, or I don't know what you want to do, whatever it is you want to do, and then you decide that you are afraid of speaking in public. Why are you afraid of speaking in public? I am an introvert. Okay, but you want to be a speaker. You want to be a public speaker. So it's either you find a way around it, because the truth is you're still going to have to do what you're supposed to do. I'm telling you, yeah? It's not a question. I'm telling you, you're going to have to do what you're supposed to do. But you need to not allow fear override your passion. Do not allow fear override your dreams. Do not allow fear have the... Don't allow fear to have the last verdict or the last say or the last judgment over your future, your passions, your desires, every single thing that you want to do in your life. If fear is what is the presiding judge over that, you will never do it. You will never basically be anything if you're always scared of, okay, I really want to do this, but I'm scared to do it. Then who's going to hear you? And that basically leads to the third point, which is opportunities. So opportunities, I'm really bad at stuff like this sometimes. And that's just because I'm a little bit hard-headed when it comes to taking opportunities. I feel like, oh, by the way, yeah, I don't know. I have a few ideas about opportunities. I did know someone. I still know someone. And he was like, he said something, it was at a youth conference, I believe, but I'd heard him say it before, I think. And he was saying that opportunity is like, I don't know if I'm just making it up in my head anymore, but I'm just going to paraphrase. He was like, opportunity is like a fine girl or whatever that taps you on the shoulder, basically says, catch me if you can, and then sprints off, and you need to chase after it. So that's one notion of opportunity. And then you have the one which is basically similar to that, where they're like, okay, opportunity knocks only once, and that's it. How I feel about opportunity is I feel like there are different types of opportunities, right? I feel like when it comes to opportunities, maybe, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just thinking that opportunity is not just one singular thing. I believe that it continues coming. I just feel that sometimes we shut our minds to it. That's how I see it. I feel like opportunity definitely comes, and I feel like opportunity gives you the opportunity to opportunity that opportunity. I feel like opportunity gives you a lot of chances to take command of the situation, or to demand a future from that opportunity, or to demand a result from that opportunity. I feel like sometimes we make people feel like they need to be desperate all the time or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my nose or something. But I just feel like opportunity doesn't only come once. I feel like maybe one type of opportunity may come on a Tuesday, but on Thursday another one might come, or it might be the same one just wearing different clothes. And I feel like all it is just that we have to keep our eyes open. I feel like if you are sensitive to what is going on around you, I feel like if you are sensitive to what it is that you truly want, you will see more than one opportunity knocking on your door. Does that make any sense? because sometimes I feel like I just talk and it's not really, it's not connecting, it's not correlating. Oh my God. But guys, I'm actually seriously so stoked. 1 year anniversary and I'm still here. You know what? I'll tell you something. There was a point where I thought that I wasn't going to still be doing radio anymore, because a lot of things has happened in the last year plus, and I have to admit that I definitely thought that I would have to relinquish my hold on the radio thing just to allow more room to do other things and so on and so forth. And it became very pressurizing for me. That the emphasis on that P there was amazing. I heard the feedback on the mic, but I did feel a little bit pressured. I did feel very pressed. But I didn't want to let go, because the reason why I wanted to do radio was because I wanted to be able to boost my confidence in my delivery, in the way I speak to people, in the way I relate to people. And aside from myself, I really wanted to be able to reach people. I really wanted to be able to talk to people and literally see what's running through your mind. I love it. I love hearing people's comments, even if it's different to mine, even if I might go, or even if I might be like, yes, that makes sense. I still want to hear how you feel, what you want to do about it, what you think might work, what you think might not work, the ideas that you have, how you're going to make it practical and all that kind of stuff. So I just feel that I felt at that point that I was going to have to let go of all of that, but I didn't. And this is the thing that comes with fears, right? Fears, there's this amazing thing, right, that comes with fears, right? And it's called voices. So actually, I feel like there's voices in everything, but I'm just gonna loud it. I'm going to loud it so that everybody can know what I'm talking about. Voices, yeah. Voices are such an important thing when it comes to fears, because when you are scared, I feel like there are two different types of voices. You know, the visuals of the angel and the devil on the shoulders while they're whispering like, no, do this, and the other one's like, don't do it, it's not good, and the other one's like, do it, it's great. So I think that when it comes to, and I guess I just keep saying this over and over again, you have to know yourself. You really, really have to know yourself. And on top of knowing yourself, you have to be able to decide for yourself what you want to hear. You need to have selective hearing. I'm not even joking. For me, selective hearing is not disrespectful. It's not, I think it's actually wise. It's you working smart when you have selective hearing. Why do I say that? Because voices, when you are scared, right, you have the voices that are telling you, yeah, that fear is right. That fear is basically trying to tell you not to do it, because trust me, you shouldn't be doing it. 5 people already tried it. Look how they ended up. Imagine the people that wanted to climb Mount Everest, right? I can imagine me telling my mom that I want to climb Mount Everest. She'll be like, do you know how many people have lost their life recklessly just climbing that mountain? That kind of thing. But then there are people who climb that mountain and they are victorious. So there is that voice. And by the way, this is not to say that my mom's not. She's someone that gives you a kick up the bum when you need it, by the way. She will tell you, like, go for this, if it's something that doesn't scare her. So everyone has what it is that kind of rattles them, basically. But you have the good voices and you have the bad voices. Or you have the voices that are beneficial, right? And the voices that will tear you down. So if I want to do something, I want to chase my dream, it's wise for me to only listen to voices that are going to help me chase that dream, or are going to teach me or help me to improve my ways of chasing that dream, basically, right? So fears are the voices. When it comes to fears, they're so important. I feel like, okay, no, let me cut it right here. Yeah, sometimes, and I kind of do this as well, when it comes to listening to different voices. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. So even though you might have like bad voices, I would say try and put yourself in a point where you use that as fuel. So sometimes you might not get any like good voices. You might not get anyone saying, yeah, go for it. You might not have anyone that's there to tell you that, you know what, your dreams are worth it. The sweat you're putting in is worth it. Your passion is worth it. Everything is worth the chase. You might not have anyone that's doing that for you. What I'm trying to say is that you might only have the bad voices. You might only have the voices that are telling you you're not going to amount to anything. It's not going to work out. 5 people have already tried it and they all failed. Look where they are now. Don't try it. Do a 9 to 5, or don't learn how to ride a bicycle, or whatever. You know, there's always those depressing voices, you could say. And what I'm trying to say is, when those voices come in, if you have just only those voices, I would use this as a platform to say that is your opportunity, because remember, we're talking about opportunities. That's your opportunity to twist those and use them as fuel. So sometimes you could be in a place where, I'm trying to find a good example. Like, yeah, I remember one time when I said I wanted to be a writer. Yeah, that was very funny to the people I said it to. And they were like, you know, are you seriously trying to be poor for the rest of your life? when I said I wanted to be, they were like, who's gonna look after you? Who's going to feed you? How are you gonna maintain and look after yourself and all that kind of stuff? But what I did, even though the way it was said, I'm just kind of rounding up how it was said, but the way I took it, it was very negative to me, because it was a contradiction of what I wanted to hear. Because I wanted to hear, okay, it's a difficult road or route or whatever, but if you work hard, you will get it, or you can at least find something on the side to do or whatever. I didn't get that. I got the what the hell do you think you're doing kind of thing. So obviously the F word, fear, creeped in. So what I did was I spun those ideas or those sayings around, right? And I basically took it as, you know what? I'm going to prove this person wrong. Not necessarily prove them wrong, but in a sense of, I'm going to make sure that what I am doing is actually what I want to do. And I'm going to make sure I enjoy it. Because a lot of the times, the reason why it's easy for us to be deterred from what we want to do, it might just be that that's not really what you want to do. I feel like when you have a passion, when you're really hungry for something, it's hard for people to talk you out of it, because it's going to be in the back of your mind all the time. I think it's in Sister Act, that movie with Whoopi Goldberg and the lady that sings, Lauryn Hill. And she was like, if you wake up in the morning and you can't think of anything but singing, then you are a singer. And she was like, if you wake up in the morning and you can't think of anything but writing, then you are a writer. It's just as simple as that. And sometimes people get deterred, and sometimes I think, is that really what you want to do? Like, you just forget all about it. Because you see it on Britain's Got Talent and stuff like that. You see people who they were singing when they were younger, then they left it, but now they're back. But that's because it's always been on their mind, so they couldn't let it go. They couldn't just die and just not explore what could have been, the perhaps, as we said, so the possibilities, as we also talked about. So I think it's very, very crucial to just kind of have those things in mind, that there will always be voices. There will always be voices that accompany fear, but you just have to be selective in the ones you choose. To be honest, be selective in everything. It's not every voice you have to listen to. And I'm going to put it out there, and I don't know if I'm going to get any hate from it. sometimes it's people that you actually really think they're really wise that have the most unnecessary and invalid things to say, not because they hate you, but actually because they feel that they love you. Sometimes when people want to protect you, they do it from an angle of worry, which is actually an angle of fear, which is also an angle of obstacle. So they don't want you to do what you want to do. And if someone is giving you advice, which is why I'm saying you have to be sensitive, if someone is giving you advice from that angle, you can take the important bits, but you need to understand that it is coming from a place of fear, not necessarily from wisdom, I guess. And that's something that I've always made sure that I am fully sensitive to. I'm always looking out for it. I'm always super analyzing how I get my how I take advice. For example, I listen to what you're saying, but I also listen to where it's coming from. If it's coming from a place of fear, if it's coming from a place of worry, I'm going to need to dissect that information, and I'm going to need to take what suits me and apply that. And that's basically it. I don't need anything else. And also, yeah, just to like put it out there as well, because when we give advice to people, because we love people, right? And we're scared for them, or we're worried for them, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes we give advice that really isn't advice. It's kind of just a don't do it, don't do what you're supposed to do, or whatever. So even for us as well, like, just be careful the way you dish out your advice. It is human nature to do it, but just be careful. Like, just have it in there, because remember, everyone's literally like listening to what you're saying when you say it. So just be careful. And also to creatives as well. Creatives are such a sensitive fraction of humans, and they interest me a lot. But just be careful how you advise them as well, because sometimes it might come, you might feel like you mean well, but you know, I don't know, it's not really meaning well. So when you give advice, be fully understanding of what the person wants to do, where they're coming from, what they're trying to achieve. Because a lot of the times when people give advice, they might not even know the entire story, and they just dish out advice, and that advice makes that other person feel down and stuff like that. So guys, when it comes to fear, it's a big deal. Fear is that F word that you really don't want in your life, because once it's in your life, man, once it's in your mind, it will play games with you, and you won't be able to get to where you need to go. So remember, I told you, like, if I see that the only reason why I don't want to do something is because I'm scared, I do it. I don't even care anymore. I just do it. If that's the only reason why I don't want to do it, I just go ahead and do it. And that is my ethos. That's my motto. That's my own way of lifestyle. That's just what I do. But yeah, with Retrospect, guys, it's been a year, and I'm telling you, I've had my ups and downs, probably more downs than I would like to say, but I feel like it's still growth, because you live and you learn, basically. And it's mad to feel like it's 1 year, you know, because me, I don't know, again, it just went very quickly. I really didn't see it coming that quickly. But anyway, I really thank God, and I guess I should use this as just a platform to just really glorify God, because there's so many things that I was so afraid to do, and this is one of them. One of them is speaking out, and I don't know why that's the one thing that I'm scared to do, when that's the one thing I always advise people to do, right? I always tell people, speak out, don't hide your light, but I do it. So I'm just really grateful for all the opportunities and stuff like that, and I'm just gonna keep going. I do move at a snail's pace, I will say, but aside from all of that, it's not a full stop. It's just a comma. It's just a semicolon. But yes, guys, it's been great. Don't allow there to be any full stops in your movements. Just keep moving, just keep going. And if you have a dream, honestly, just go for it. Just go for it. Just go for it. Just chase it. Put your sweat into it. Put your back into it. put your head into it, put your neck into it. I'm sounding like some Ice Cube song right now. But for real, just put everything you have into it and just go for it, honestly. And retrospect, thinking back, like where I've come from to where I am now, being able to like reach out to other people, but also just my own psyche as well. Like me too, I'm growing, so I'm so happy. This girl vents to the world, like for real. I honestly love you guys for listening, and I'm going to have to bounce. I'm going to have to see y'all some other time. I'm going to have to love and leave you. But yes, you've been listening to This Girl Vents, and your host is Cece Stanleys on PRZ FM 109.2. And I know you love me. So let me know how much you love me by emailing me on thisgirlvents@przfm.com. That's thisgirlvents@przfm.com. You don't just have to tell me you love me. You can just tell me what you think as well. And obviously, if you have any discussion points or anything you want to say, just let me know. And trust me, I will get back to you, because it's what I do, because I got people's backs, mate. So it's been nice. It's been lovely. And yes, I will see you all some other time. Thank you.